everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. Something that I've never had the opportunity to do as a woodworker is to take a raw tree or a raw log and then make it into something. I've always worked with pre-purchased lumber or got my lumber from somewhere else, but because of the ice storms that we had this last winter in Oregon, there were a couple of downed oak trees on my uncle's property, and we're going to go check those out to see if we can't do something with them, and this may be my first opportunity to slab something out. All right, let's go check it out. Okay, so one of the first things that we want to evaluate when we're looking at these logs is what the condition of the end grain is in, because he cut all the limbs off for firewood and cut it off at the base, and so we're trying to evaluate what is the remaining log that we have to work with. So that'll tell us about how wide it is, how long it is, and what kind of product we can get out of this. He's looking for potentially a mantelpiece and something that he can put right over the top of his fireplace. And so we need to figure out what we think we're actually going to be able to get out of these logs. And then what I was just showing you was anchor seal and a sprayer, because what anchor seal is intended to do is seal up those end grain, because it's going to take probably 2 to 3 years for these things to fully dry, depending on how big they are and how big the slabs are. One second. Depending on how big the slabs are, a rough rule of thumb that I've heard for drying raw wood is about 1 inch per year, although I have heard that it can go a little bit faster than that, though I'm not optimistic of that because of how wet we are here in Oregon. But we're going to go ahead and see what it looks like, and then while we're trying to figure out the logistics for the rest of the process, I brought the anchor seal with me in the sprayer so that we could try to either get a fresh cut and then throw the anchor seal on there, or just do it over the existing cut and try to limit the amount of checking that we're going to see. Checking is where you get that drying and splitting as it comes into the end of the wood, and that's something that you really want to avoid, because it can take a really nice usable log and turn it into something that's just about useless, depending on how bad the checking is, where it is, and kind of what happens. So, I mean, we could have quite a bit of money in these logs sitting here, or we could have nothing, depending on what happens with the checking over the next couple of years. But I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit until we get there, and let's go ahead and see what they look like. Okay, so here we are. We've got the two logs sitting back here, and they actually look really good. There's a little bit of checking that you can see. Let's see if I can give you guys a good look on that. So there's a little bit of checking there, but I don't think it's bad enough that it's going to ruin these guys. This is a real nice, beautiful log, probably 20 foot long or so, and 2.5 foot in diameter. And then this guy's got some really cool character to him. Got a whole bunch of branching out right here. I'll be curious to see what it looks like in the break between, or in the crotch between, because you can see that there's, oh, that was actually probably you that tried to cut that off right there, isn't it?
Or someone else.
Or someone else. Oh, by the way, it's my uncle. Say hey, Jeff. So yeah, these look pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and take some time and talk with my uncle about what we want to do with this, and then I can explain to you guys kind of what we're doing with that, and do a recap on that as we're moving forward. All right, see you in a second. So after seeing the logs, we did end up deciding to cut off a new end and anchor seal it. And the reason you want to cut off that new end is so that you get past whatever checking is there and get to fresh lumber. So here's an instance of us trying to roll this thing over. This thing weighs an absolute ton, and there was basically no leverage we could get to it. So we decided to clear out the front side of it, use the chain that was already hooked up, and see if we couldn't roll it onto two logs. Because the other thing is, if these sit here through the winter, we were concerned it was just going to sink deeper into the mud. I feel like we got pretty lucky with this because they weren't able to move it any other way, and just because of the way that the chain was hooked up to this thing, it allowed us to get quite a bit of leverage to try and roll this thing over. And there she goes. I wouldn't have believed it was that hard to roll it over unless I had tried to roll it over myself first, because that makes it look really easy. Now with the chain out of the way, we can take that off and cut a fresh end on it and get that guy anchor sealed. And this is only one of 7 ends with all that crotch grain that we have at the other one. But I had to switch over to my iPhone because there wasn't quite enough light for me to film with my regular camera. Once we cut that off, I went through with a sprayer and sprayed the anchor seal all over the end, and it worked shockingly well. It's very, very viscous, not like the normal weed spray that you would spray out of one of these things, but I was really surprised with how well it worked, but you did definitely have to have the pressure higher. Okay guys, sorry for the poor lighting. Last night we totally ran out of light, and so we were only able to finish one side, and then let's see if I can't, oh, there's a little bit better. So we ran out of lighting last night, and so we weren't able to get everything done except the one side that you guys were watching. And then while I was working today, my uncle came out and finished the rest of it. And so he chopped off a fresh end on everything and then sprayed it with the anchor seal. And again, the idea behind that is we're trying to seal the areas where the wood is checking so that we can stop those cracks and stop the moisture loss. And just quickly, the reason why that happens is because moisture leaves the end of the wood far faster than it leaves everywhere else on the wood. And so by shrinking that area faster, it pulls itself apart, causing cracks, and you can ruin an entire piece of lumber. But one of the other things that I did a little bit of research on is showing me that this is likely pin oak based on the leaves and based on what my uncle had said and based on what the homeowner who is next to this had said. And I'm a little bit torn because pin oak is potentially useless when it comes to woodworking or milling, because it has this thing, you know, I'm totally going to screw this up. I'll put it right down below here. But it has this thing where basically all of your grains will split apart. And as soon as you mill it, the wood just falls apart and it's not useful for basically anything except for potentially firewood. So I'm going to call around it. I'm going to check with some of the local mills and see if they think it's even worth it to try and get some pin oak, because again, this guy is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I'm super, if we could get something out of this log, it would be awesome. And then this guy over here has some really beautiful crotch grain in it. And if we could get this guy made into a slab or made into a couple of slabs or any variety of things, we could do some really cool things with it. So I'm really hoping that it works out. But I mean, this may be like $10,000+ just sitting here not able to be used because it just so happens to be the wrong type of wood, which of course means it's not really sitting here, but it's just, it's hard to see an opportunity that could have been disappear like that. So if you guys have any experiences with milling your own lumber, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Go ahead and leave some comments down below. And then if you think that pin oak is fine, I would also love to hear from you if you've got experience with it. And we're probably not going to be working with this right now, so I've got plenty of time to hear from you guys. So please message me back, put something in the comments. And if you like the kind of content we have here at Northwest Craftsman, we'd love it if you would subscribe and like this video. So thank you guys tons. I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that this turns out, because I would love to work with some raw wood and some raw slabs and start making some stuff in that arena. So, all right, see you guys later. Happy woodworking. Bye.